Right, let's solve some simple two-step linear equations here. What we're trying to do is find a value for x that when we say let's times it by 6 and take away 4, we'll get the answer of 20. One of the methods is you could just guess. We could try, what if x was 2? What that means is we're saying instead of x times 6, it means it's going to be 6 times 2. And then it says take 4, and we can see pretty easily that that's not going to equal 20 because 6 2s are 12. Take 4, and that's going to be 8, not 20. So you could try and guess again and go, well, that was too small, let's keep going higher and higher. But if it's a fraction of decimal, we're going to be there for a while. So we're going to do pretty simple algebra here. And if you know that the opposite of times is divide, opposite of plus is subtract, you're going to do fine with this. The next thing you need to know is, can you read this? So if I started with the unknown, the x, what is happening to it? We know that in between the 6 and the x there's a multiply. So we know the first thing that's happening is a times by 6. Then we also know that then we take 4. So if I read that, x times 6 take 4, that's what's going on here. What we're going to do now is we're going to do the opposite of this in the reverse direction. So because the minus 4 is the furthest thing away, that's what we're going to get rid of first. And we're going to do that by plussing 4. Now technically what we're doing is we're adding 4 to this side to make the take 4 disappear. It's the opposite. So what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. But if we keep writing those little things there, it gets a little bit messy. So hopefully you can understand that we added 4 here. What happened was that disappeared, the minus 4, and so what we're left with is just the 6x and the 20 plus 4. And hopefully we can stop writing the little plus 4 plus 4. But if you want to, you keep it going. So what we're left with now is we've got 6x, 20 plus 4 is 24. And now you could solve it from here if you're good with your times tables. 6 times something equals 24. I hope you're all yelling at me. Yes, that's 4. But imagine we didn't know that. The opposite of times 6 is divide by 6. And once again, we're going to do that to both sides. So instead of saying 6x, or writing should I say, 6x equals 24 and then I divide that by 6 and what I do to one side I do to the other because that's what we're doing, we know that that cancels out. So let's get into the habit we can go, that means it's 24, we divide the other side by 6. And lo and behold, you can fancy it up there, we get x equals 4. Now I can check that this is right by putting it back up here. So 6 times 4 is 24, take 4 is 20, and I know that I'm right. Let's try one more. So once again, we have a look and we go, here's our unknown here, our x, it's being multiplied by 4, and we've got this minus 5. That's furthest away, that's the last thing that's happening. So that's the first thing that we have to undo. So how do we get rid of a take 5? We're going to add 5. Now if we add 5 to this side, that disappears. That's the whole reason we're doing it. So that's now going to disappear and I'm going to be left on the left hand side now with just the 4x. But what I do to one side, I have to do the other. So because I added 5 to the left, I'm going to add 5 to the right hand side just to keep everything nice and even. And then we tidy that up and we get 1 plus 5 is 6. And it's at this point in time you have a look, can I solve? What's 4? 4 times something equals 6. It's going to be a fraction answer, so for me I'm going to say, right, I can't tell that what it is straight away, so how do I get rid of this times 4? The opposite of times 4 is divide by 4. Now when I divide this side by 4, it disappears. So what I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. And I think my job is nearly done, but not quite, because I have to always look at the fraction. And is there a number that goes into both of them? 6 and 4, and we know, yep, 2 goes into both of them. So 2 goes into 6 3 times, and it goes into 4 twice. And so that's my final answer. And I like to leave it like that as a fraction, rather than a decimal. Let's try one more. Okay, we've got this one now. So once again, start by reading it in your head. X is being divided by 3, and then we add 10. So the last thing that happened was the add 10. So that's the first thing that we're going to get rid of. And how do we get rid of an add 10? I can hear you all yelling. The opposite of add 10 is take 10. So we take 10 from here, and that means that disappears. So now I've only got x over 3 equals, because I took 10 from here, I have to take 10 from the other side. And this is why we need to write this down, because I'm going to now say that's a great step, and you're now going to put your negative number skills to the test and go, what is minus 2 take 10? So that means I'm giving you $2 and I give you another 10, so that's a minus 12. If you're a bit shaky with your negative numbers, check with a calculator. And we're nearly there. How do I get rid of this divide by 3? The opposite of dividing by 3 is timesing by 3. So when I times this side by 3, that divide by disappears and I'm just left with x. What I do to one side, I have to do the other. So I'm going to say minus 12 times 3, and then I can just pop my answer there. Minus 12 times 3 is minus 36. Again, feel free to use your calculator if you need to. Okay, and the last one, and it should be coming pretty routine now. Again, we read it, starting with the unknown. It's being, what's the first thing that's happening to it? It's being divided by 5. And then it's got this take 4. Remember, it's written like this, but that is the same as if I was to write x over 5 take 4 equals minus 1. These are identical, okay? They mean the same thing. Just because it's written different doesn't mean it's anything scary. So anyway, the take 4 out here, we look at what's in front of the value, not behind, so in front. How do I get rid of a take 4? We know that by now. We add 4. So when I add 4 to this side, that disappears, and I'm left with x over 5. But because I added 4 to the left-hand side, I better do the same to the right. So I have to add 4. We keep our x over 5 here, and we tidy up the right-hand side. Once again, we've got negative numbers. It's minus 1 plus 4. So you're owed minus 1, but then you pay off 4, so we're up by 3. Once again, check your calculator if you're not sure. Or it's minus 1 degree, and then it increases by 4, we get 3. And now, finish off, x is being divided by 5. How do I get rid of a divide 5? We times. So when I times this side by 5, that disappears. The other side is 3 times 5. And hey presto, we get 15. To check that you're right, remember you can substitute these back into the original equations. If we go back to this one, we could substitute that back up here. This is saying x divided by 3 plus 10 equals minus 2. So if x is minus 3 divided by 3 is minus 12 plus 10, and it does indeed equal minus 2. So that's a quick little summary. Hopefully that helps and you can go and solve some two-step simultaneous equations.